Feeling the global cost of living pinch? Well, I have some advice that is not going to help with that, but it will help you with your mindset. Hey, that's 80% of the problem, isn't it? Come on, hear me out.
A better you starts today.
You really should hear me out. So if you're deaf, sorry. There's nothing that I can do to help you. And because you're deaf, you're not hearing this, are you? So I can just say this, can't I? Deaf people suck. And now that I have been extremely offensive to a community that really doesn't deserve to be picked on, I feel like I'm in a position to sit there and make fun of a bunch of poor people during the global cost of living crisis as well. Hey, we're already down here. Let's muck around. I mean, I get this all the time. I get a bunch of people coming up to me and saying, look, the global cost of living crisis has pushed me back on my goals, which really does say a lot about this audience. I'm so proud of you guys. I really am. I'm not able to get a jet ski during the global cost of living crisis. Am I a failure? Yeah. Seeing as there's a bunch of people that are moving into their parents' homes, yes, your jet ski really is up there. I mean, it's a mum for the ocean that you can ride on. Don't ride on your actual mum. It's got a lot of laws against that. Hey, I get it all the time. People saying, look, all of my dreams have gone backwards during the global cost of living crisis. Join the club. I mean, I'm obviously not in the same boat as you guys. Thanks for you keeping me afloat. I mean, let's be honest, I really could afford that jet ski. And I do. I put it back in the dream island back there. And the reason I do, why is that? Because I'm a child of the GFC. Yeah, that's right. You don't remember it, do you, Zoomers? Because you were babies. Go, Digimon or whatever the Zoomers played with back then. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the knockoff of Pokemon, but whatever. I was doing that. Okay, well, that's all well and good, babies. But while you were doing that, I was doing the tough stuff, like investing in silver at its peak. And it still hasn't come back. One day it will, though, and I'll make my money back. And I'll prove Kramer on CNBC correct with his powerhouse. You have got to invest in silver today. And then I lost all my money. Look, I've been around the traps from that. If you remember that, or if the Gen Xers, or boomers, I can't remember which one it would be, you remember that there was the stock market crash in the 80s. Look, these things are cyclical. They happen. The question is, how do you come out of it better? Yes, a lot of people's lives are going backwards now. Here's the difference though. Some people in this time of crisis will be looking for opportunity, while others will be looking at their life material things going backwards. So, let's give a really good example of this. I know a lot of people that have moved back in with their parents. Losers. Please continue to sign up to Jordan Shanks for extra 3 videos a week, but here's the thing. Here's the upside to that, yeah? If you're not paying rent, you've got all the money in the world to pay for that shit. That's one bonus. But the thing is that there are going to be a bunch of people that in this time, they are going to be looking for doing, and I need you to write this down because this is a key tenement of self-help. You ready? I really want you to write this down. Do what you can with what you have. Do what you can with what you have. Why is that such a key tenement of self-help? First off, because no one does it. Everybody sits there and does what you're doing right now. The babies out there, sitting there and complaining about their material circumstances declining, which is what is happening to everyone in the world at the moment, even the very wealthy. They're not able to go to as many fancy restaurants as they could before. Well, actually, no, yes, they could, but they see the pinch a little bit, you know? They see the pinch. So, in this time, when everyone's material circumstances are going back, what is the usual proclivity to do? Well, as you can see from the 1930 stock market crash, you jump out of a building. And I fully understand that. I fully understand that mentality because don't you think that if you're an adult, this sums up your entire life as an adult? The worm is going up. I wish it was going up more. And then it goes down. Oh, okay, that's it. I'm going to jump out of the building. It's done. It's done. I've tried. That's how it works. That's your entire adult life. It is just, everyone's adult life is just contingency to some arbitrary picture of a little graph thing going. But just notice, first off, these are the major psychological pillars that you need to survive the global cost of living crisis. The first one is, this is happening to everyone. You are not unique. Everyone's material circumstances are going backwards. So join the club. That's all well and good. I'll tell you another thing that always made me remember doing what you can with what you have. This is a great story. Man Pip Bip, when he came in the Great Depression, so it wasn't my dad, but it was like my great-grandfather or whatever, some Croat, yeah, some dirty Croat, he comes here during the Great Depression, he's trying to sell cabbages, no one can buy cabbages. Now, think about that. Your material circumstances have not gone back to the point that you can't afford cabbage. You're doing pretty well, first off. In this global cost of living crisis, you also need to understand that this is a second pillar. So the first one is, everyone else is in the same boat as you. You need to remember that. The second one that you need to remember is, this is an historical blip. It's a minor setback, really, in the grand scheme of things. During the Great Depression, people couldn't afford cabbage. And if you can't afford cabbage, what can you afford? So instead, he grew all these cabbages because he was a farmer. He'd go to the market, no one would buy them. Everyone else would just be kicking them over. Lousy cabbages. And then all this food goes to waste because they refuse to sell it, right? Instead, he was like, everybody just come over, sing me a nice song, and I give you cabbage, yes? And then people would come up, and then they'd just be like, shippity-doo-dah, shippity-dah. And he's like, there you go, the good cabbage for you, nice cabbage, take it home to family, darling. Now, when material circumstances improved, everyone has cabbages that they're selling. Everyone has cabbages still. Who do you think was selling more cabbages? Man Pep Pep. Man Pep Pep, as soon as money started going in and people had money for cabbages, he was selling more cabbages. As a result, what happened? He was able to buy a bigger farm eventually. There was community trust in him. He became a community pillar. And why? Because he did what he could with what he had. Those cabbages were going to waste anyway, and he thought, well, how about we just liven up the place? Make everyone a lot happier. You notice this about the Depression, right? That there was a bunch of people that came out and then they just started, like media started becoming, black and white media started to become a lot more cheerful. It was exactly what happened during the global financial crisis as well. Like Hollywood just was like, we've got to, liven people up. So 2010s music is a lot of like, I'm in the club, I've got ample amount of alcohol, this is an entire decade of music, yeah. That's what happened in the Depression. And the people that were able to bring the vibes, he was giving cabbages away for free. He wouldn't have it anyway. But in the meantime, what was he doing? He was building a customer base. This is what I want you to think about in times of retraction. People, during times of retraction, who seek out and use that extra pressure on their head to think of ways to gain. And obviously, those are going to have to be scaled back during this time. The point is, you are flexing that muscle during winter. During winter, you are flexing the muscle of seeking out opportunity, of seeking out ways that you can improve your circumstances, that you can improve the community circumstances around you. What does that do? That builds trust. That builds up your personal muscle to responding to the resistance of life. Really, you can use it as the same metaphor as you use for the gym, which is the great metaphor for everything. Isn't it amazing that everything always goes back to the gym? But it does. It is a really good way to look at this, yeah? It is just like, if you are in these times thinking of ways to build that muscle, if you're using that extra resistance, you just really have to think about now you've just got more weight on your biceps. So you have to, and you're thinking of ways to lift it, be like, ah! What happens? That builds your muscle for when summer returns. And like everything in life, cyclically, it is always going to get better. This is the other thing that I think people always need to remember about this, yeah? And I want you to write this down as well. Life is cyclical. So the global cost of living crisis, it's already alleviating massively. If you look at the economic figures, it's going back to normal. Now, obviously, because it took like a few years to come in, it's going to take a few years to wash away. That's natural. But what happens after that? Boom. But here's the thing. People that were in the global cost of living crisis, not thinking of those little advantages that they can eke out during the time, first off, they're not going to be at the advantage for when summer returns. You are going to be at that advantage because you are going to be further down the mark than the other people. That's the first thing. The second thing is you are going to be match ready. You've been training underweight. You are Goku when he goes to that tiny little planet with that guy that looks like a bug being like, yeah, it's heavier here. That's you. That's how you're looking at it. So I just want you, this is purely, because a lot of this channel is just about getting you into the right psychology, yeah? 80% of your problems in life are always going to be psychological. And if you take that psychology into the global cost of living crisis, if you see the global cost of living crisis for what it is, which is yet another opportunity, you're going to thrive, especially when summertime comes back. You really will. This happens time and time and time again. Okay, what else happened during the Depression? This is another good example, yeah? Investors, when there was Britain moving out of Hong Kong, what did every investor do? Oh, I've got to pull all my money out, shit. The good investors looked at it and thought, well, even if there's a Chinese government in, they're still going to need cement. They're still going to need wheelbarrows. So they kept their money in those businesses. And then Hong Kong thrived under China. This is what I'm saying. Like, things that look like they're not opportunities, they can be opportunities. It's purely a psychological bend on these things. There is always going to be something that you can be doing at this moment to improve your circumstances. And I want you to write down what that is. I also want you to sign up to Jordan Shanks for an extra 3 videos a week, if you could afford it. I know it's pitching a shawl, but I think that honestly, not a better investment of your money ever. Changing your psychology slightly, even slightly, because the thing is, all of us throughout our lives, we just think like, this is the way the world is, through our heads. And if you have someone there reminding you constantly that no, there's other ways to look at it, here's the tools to look at that exact same circumstance in a different way. What is that? Advantage point to you, every time. Most of your problems, 80% of it is going to be psychological. I can help with that, but you have to help yourself.